Well, this is part 4 of our restoration of this 1951 Pontiac car radio made by Delco. And in this video, we'll put fire in the hole and see if this radio will give us any kind of a response. I'm monitoring the cathode voltage of the OZ4, and according to the diagram, I should have 240 volts DC. Doesn't appear that it's even going to approach 240 volts. It seems to be falling off quite rapidly. Undoubtedly we have some leaky filters. But we'll see if we can hear anything with this radio warm up just a bit. One thing I like to do, and there are other restorers on YouTube who agree with me, we like to fire up our sets, radios, amplifiers, and see if we can get any kind of a response out of them before we rebuild them. And in that way, at least I'll know if I had a response before I rebuilt it, and I didn't after I rebuilt it. I can kick myself in the butt and know that there's something that I did wrong. As many years as I've been doing this, it's not uncommon, particularly working on a set late at night, to transpose a couple of tubes or be replacing 3 or 4 components at the same time and mismatching the leads, forgetting to solder a lead or have a cold solder joint on a lead. Usually something rather simple, but it can be hair-raising, and you can find yourself chasing the problem around for hours. So when we get into future restoration videos of this radio, I'll explain a few of my techniques, and hopefully you'll find those helpful. Another thing that I like to do before I completely overhaul a radio is check all of the coils. The RF coils, oscillator, IF, and audio coils. And in an old radio with a field coil, the field coil choke as well. It's a little disconcerting to spend hours rebuilding a radio only to turn it on and have nothing happen, or only be receiving on a couple of bands of a multi-band shortwave radio. When you find out that you've overlooked a coil, and if it's a particularly difficult radio or an older radio to find a coil for, you may find yourself hunting for quite a while. So you've got a radio sitting open on the bench, shoved aside, gathering dust while you work on something else. So it's best before you even start the project to, if you find a coil that's bad, a part that's bad, get it ordered and have it on hand so when you complete the restoration you can put it in. This particular radio is not going to pose a problem for me if we do have a bad coil. I have, by the way, I have checked them all out and they're all good, because I have a whole bunch of car radios that I can snag a part off anytime I need it. Looks like our voltage is holding at about 190 volts. That's still about 50 volts lower than what it should be, and not acceptable. I have the SS Tran on here in the shop, which is being fed by my computer, and it's being broadcast on 1340 KC. So at least we should be able to get that. I'm not hooked up to a car antenna. I am hooked up to my antenna on top of the building. And in this environment, I should be able to pull in a station even with a coat hanger. I'll turn up the volume, tune the dial a bit, and nothing. So I'm prepared for this. I used to be a Boy Scout years ago. An old motto, be prepared. So I have my audio generator, HP audio generator, ready to go, and my B&K RF generator ready to go. Let's start at the 7C5 tubes. Diagram calls for 6 V6s, and generally 6 V6s were used in these Delco radios of this era. However, for some reason, they decided to use a pair of 7C5s in the output. So I've got my audio lead here. I'm going to turn the camera around and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. It would be nice to have an array of cameras, and maybe eventually more of these videos I will. I'm going to go to the control grid of the 7C5, which is pin 5. We're coming right off of a 220k ohm resistor, which is right here. And for some reason, I'm not hearing anything. Let's take a look at that again. A 220k ohm resistor at this point. Bingo! Got plenty of audio at the output. So let's walk our way back to pin 6, or excuse me, pin 4 of the secondary IF transformer, and the 6SQ7 is right here, and pin 4, sometimes a flashlight helps a little bit. Pin 4 should be right about here. So we're getting audio through the secondary of the secondary IF transformer. Now I'll inject RF at pin 8 of the 6SK7, which is the primary of the secondary. And the alignment instructions say to use a 0.1 capacitor. So I'm going to pin 8 of the 6SK7, which is right here. Pin 8 should be right about here. And I'm hearing audio, but it's very weak. So we need to go back a little bit farther. We'll go to the secondary of the primary IF, which is pin 4 of the same tube we were on, the 6SK7, which was a little tough to get to, as I recall from working on these in the past. Right about there. I'm not hearing anything. I'll jiggle the tube just a bit. So obviously this radio has got some issues that we're going to have to deal with. And in subsequent videos, I will show you the progress that has been made. All these capacitors, and I assume one of these, multiple of these, is leaky. Probably have a resistor that's out of tolerance, maybe even open. And definitely we have to concentrate on those filters because of our low B+. So that'll wrap up this video, and more to come. Stay tuned and straight ahead.